I will bring the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Glendora Unified School District to order. It's Monday, July 27th, 2026. We're coming out of closed session where there are two reportable items. One of the items, 2.3, is the Glendora Unified Board of Trustees in closed session upon a motion by Trustee Lopez, seconded by Trustee Garcia, and a vote of 3 yeses and 1 no, has approved a settlement agreement for OAH case number 202-511-0692. The second item, 2.4, the Glendora Unified Board of Trustees in closed session upon a motion by Trustee Cam, seconded by Trustee Lopez, and a vote of 4 yeses, has approved a settlement agreement for OAH case number 202-605-0134. And that concludes all the readouts from closed session. So we will reconvene and have a roll call for tonight's attendance.
Member Garcia?
Present.
Board Clerk Cam?
Present.
Board Vice President Lopez?
Here.
President Clifford?
Present.
Please note Member Munoz is absent.
Now please rise and put your right hand over your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. May I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda, please?
I'll make a motion.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, we will move forward with this agenda. The next item brings us great joy. 3.6 is a board recognition, introduction of Sellers Elementary Principal and Glendora High School Assistant Principal. Dr. DeGrazia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Clifford, members of the board, distinguished guests. It is my pleasure to have Dr. Osborne introduce our fine new additions to our leadership team, our new principal at Sellers Elementary School, Amanda Cullen, and welcome back, and new assistant principal at Glendora High School, Miss Jen Engel. Dr. Osborne.
Thank you, Dr. DeGrazia. Tonight it's my honor and privilege to introduce the next principal of Sellers Elementary School, Mrs. Amanda Cullen. This appointment came out of, we could clap for that. This appointment came out of a process that was both competitive and thorough. We began with 27 applicants and narrowed that field down to 8 exceptionally qualified educational leaders for our first round of interviews. And from that group, our finalists advanced to a rigorous second round before district leadership. By the end of that process, it was very clear through her interpersonal skills, her experience, and her technical abilities that Mrs. Cullen was the right person to lead Sellers. I want to thank everyone who served on our interview panel, their time, their care, their understanding of what Sellers needs to make this process what it should be. Mrs. Cullen brings 28 years of experience as an elementary educator, including 15 years as an elementary principal, 5 years as an elementary assistant principal. She began her career in the classroom as an elementary teacher, and that foundation has shaped her leadership style, built on relationships, instruction, and everyday work helping students grow. She has led schools to measurable growth in both reading and mathematics, guided her current school upward across multiple state measures, and earned recognition, including the Dr. Carol Connor Award for Excellence in bringing literacy research into practice. She holds a bachelor's degree right down the street from Azusa Pacific in liberal studies, a master's degree, and an administrative credential from Cal State San Bernardino. And beyond all of her credentials, what stood out most throughout this process was the kind of leader Mrs. Cullen is. She is seasoned and steady. She has at the heart of her leadership the focus on relationships with both students, with their families, and with our staff. Her care for children came through in every single conversation that we had with her. And while she's new to GUSD, in many ways this is also a homecoming. Glendora is kind of a second home for Amanda as she attended APU and has really fine memories of running through our neighborhoods here in town. She didn't simply apply for a principalship, she applied for this one, specifically drawn to Sellers. And so at this time, please join me in welcoming Mrs. Amanda Cullen to the podium, please.
First of all, I just want to thank you all. It is an honor and a pleasure to stand before you and be a part of this team. I'm so very eager to get started. Thank you for coming tonight, and I look forward to a great year and many wonderful things to come. I want to thank my family. My husband is here with me, as well as my daughter Julia and my son Jackson. You guys are amazing. I've already felt the love. One of the first things I said to Eric was I was extremely impressed with the customer service and the welcoming that we get when you walk through these doors. And we're going to carry that through Sellers and the time that we spend together. So thank you, and have a great night.
Thank you and welcome. One more?
One more. And as Dr. DeGrasse mentioned, this person probably doesn't need an introduction, but she's going to get one anyway. And so it's also my honor and privilege to introduce Glendora High School's Assistant Principal of Special Education, Mrs. Jen Engel. This appointment came out of a process that was also very competitive. We began with 32 applicants and invited 6 exceptionally qualified candidates to interview. We had a double panel interview, and we deliberate after our interviews. And this was the first time, I think we had 16 individuals on our panel. This is the first time where all 16 marked one person as number one, and that was Jen Engel. And that says a lot about Jen's leadership and her connections that she already has here at Glendora High School. And so after consulting executive cabinet, we decided not to do a second round and appoint Mrs. Engel into this position. I again want to thank everybody that was on that panel. It took a lot of time and effort, and we appreciate them. And again, for many, this introduction is really a welcome back for Jen. She's no stranger to Glendora High School. She served here for 8 years as a special education teacher, including 2 years as department chair, and most recently as our Dean of Student Support before taking an assistant principal position in Walnut. She returns to GHS with the same student-centered heart, now paired with a broadened administrative experience. Her background is especially well suited to this role. Mrs. Engel has spent her career in special education, from teaching students with autism at the elementary level to leading resource and instructional support at the secondary level. And she brings a deep expertise into IEPs, multi-tiered systems of support, and restorative practice. As a dean, I want you guys to know this. As a dean, she was known for approaching discipline and attendance with empathy, looking for the root of the cause and more of a teachable moment than just going straight to consequences. She holds an administrative services credential from Cal Poly Pomona, a Master's of Art in School Counseling from Concordia, and a Master's of Art in Educational Specialist from Cal Poly Pomona. Beyond her credentials, what stood out about Jen was the kind of leader she is. She knows the culture of Glendora High School because she helped shape it. At the heart of her leadership is, again, relationships with students, their families, and her colleagues. Returned home to GHS, she steps into this role with deep experience, genuine warmth, and a clear commitment to the students and staff of Glendora High School. Please join me in welcoming back Mrs. Jen Engel as our new assistant principal. Welcome, Jen.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Glendora Unified School District Board of Education and Administration, as well as the GHS staff and families, for the opportunity to support students, staff, families, and the community in this role as assistant principal at GHS. And I'm excited to be back at the as a tartan in the leadership role to continue to foster a positive school environment at Glendora High School.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you very much, Dr. Osborne. The board welcomes these new employees, and we look forward to great things. You might want to hyphenate your last name. You're at the wrong school, right? Cullen/Sellers. I mean, I don't know who, it's kind of funny, but anyways, for the heck of it, congratulations to both of you. All right, we will move on to the next item, which is public comment. We have 2 speaker cards tonight. I'll call the first one, Robert Gonzalez.
Hey, thanks. I'm a 30-plus year, resident of Glendora. I'm a graduate of the district and kids currently in it. really appreciate the work that generations of the district have done. And I just want to encourage folks to allow my neighbors and folks in town to vote on Measure G, put it on the ballot so we have an opportunity to hear more about it. When I first started investigating it, I found out its presentation from the more prominent signs didn't really tell me what was going on. And the more I looked at it, the more I want to be able to talk about it with my neighbors and give the schools the money they need to make the improvements that any of us who have been on campus know have to be done. So thank you for your work, and I really encourage you to let democracy do its stuff. Thanks.
Thank you. Final card tonight is Doug Granquist. He's the president of our Teachers Association, just by the way.
Thank you. Good evening, President Clifford, Mr. Lopez, Member Garcia, and Member Kayam, Dr. Garazia, and members of the community. As you know, my name is Doug Granquist, and I'm the president of the Glendora Teachers Association. I'm coming to you today to encourage you to vote to bring an extension of the current GUSD school bond to its voters in the fall. You authorizing and we ultimately passing this bond extension will give our district the ability to fix aging infrastructure, like getting actual HVAC at our middle schools, invest in school safety, and support the programs that innovate education for all of our students. These type of updates take money, and although our district has done a lot to save and make our expenses efficient, these essential updates need funding from the community. We believe that the district's plan to extend the current bond and not increasing but maintaining current tax levels is cognizant of the financial pressures of our community. I've had numerous conversations with all of you on the board, and in those conversations, a common refrain that I hear is that you all want to know how you can support teachers. I'm here to tell you, this is it. This is how we support teachers, students, and our schools, by authorizing a bond extension and supporting its success in our community. Thank you very much for your time, and we at Glendora Teachers Association look forward to partnering with the district and each of you on the board to pass this bond extension. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate your work on this.
Thank you very much. That include, do you have a speaker card, sir? Yeah, do you have a speaker? Yeah, come on up and we'll fill out a speaker card.
Looks like there might be somebody with that
Is there-
card as well.
Okay, just, yes, sir.
So, good evening to the Board of Trustees and staff, Dr. DeGrazia. There's been a lot of discussion on social media and in writing that's been sent in emails, et cetera, about how much this bond extension is going to cost taxpayers. And I wanted to put some clarity to that. And I want to look at this cost issue from a different perspective, rather than ask, because one side of the community is saying, hey, this is going to cost X dollars. I want to say, hey, what will I do if the bond is not extended and I get a reduction in my taxes? How much would that be, and what would I do with that money? And it turns out that if I have a home that's assessed at the median of all homes in the city of Glendora, I would save a whopping $3.56 a week. So I know I could do a lot with that $3.56. Now, if I've got an assessed value that's twice the median at $1.2 million, I could save $7.12 a week. But the interesting thing is, I'm really not going to save it if the extension goes through, because there's no increase to the assessment that's on my property tax bill. So it really is a question of, hey, can I do better by putting that $3.56 in my pocket than giving that money in the aggregate to the school district to do the things that are clearly identified in the agenda packet and that, to me, seem very, very significant, that would make a difference. And we're not even talking about the morale of the staff. And to be able to have sports fields that meet CIF requirements so that we could keep more of those great athletes in our community, I think all that would be good. So this idea that costs are going to go up if the tax extension passes is also false, in my opinion, because we're already paying those taxes. And so property owner of multifamily units is not going to see an increase in its property taxes, so there won't be an increase to drive rent increases. So that whole argument is false. So I think the opportunity to access that $50 million of state funding is a once in a season opportunity. And to say, nope, let's just throw that away because I want my $3.56 a week, to me, is not very good financial thinking. So I just wanted people to take into consideration this cost issue. Thank you.
Samuel Luna. And after Samuel Luna, we will have Michael. Zakatowski?
Sorry?
No, after you, I was talking, after you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, hi, Sam Luna, and thank you for allowing me to speak on this issue. I think, I guess we're going to hear a lot of different perspectives. My perspective, I came here to share with you, is a couple of things. First, for context, I've been a property owner here in Glendora for many, many years. I have grandchildren and nieces and nephews in the district. I'm not happy about what's happening here tonight. I don't think 5 people should have the ability, the legal ability, to get this on the ballot in November. It usually takes 2/3, signatures on a petition to get something on the ballot. And I don't, my perspective, I asked the superintendent for the legal basis for you to be able to do this. He gave it to me. He gave me some legalese that says you have the ability to put this on the ballot. But I don't think that this small body here should tax all of the property owners in the city for this. And there's plenty of people in the city, property owners, that will go ahead and now fight this till November. We'll see what the outcome is. If it doesn't pass, you'll go on. You'll figure out how to fix something. You'll be more efficient. You'll run the schools, a good group of schools like you have for many years with our tax money. Okay? So I urge you to not pass this, not put it on the property owners of Glendora, and I appreciate you letting me come and speak on this.
Thank you. Michael. And then Alex Lee after Michael.
Thank you, board. A couple comments. I just wanted to thank first the staff at Sellers for the past 5 years. My son just finished, and for anything that's going on at the district level up here, we had a great experience. So I want to thank all the teachers, all the administrators. I won't name anyone by name because there's too many and I will forget them. The aftercare staff, they've been wonderful. One question tonight as you address the bond, I am curious to get more information about the state matching grants. I've been trying to follow this as closely as possible, but just really digging into the details about how much we qualify for, if there's any cutoffs, if we pass a certain size bond measure, do we get more, do we get less, what else qualifies it for us? And then finally, I will support the bond measure. In all likelihood, I think every generation, whether it's the first generation at Glendora Unified School Districts to matriculate, 25 years from now, everyone deserves a clean, safe place to learn, clean, safe place to teach. And I just think it's kind of a moral imperative for every generation to kind of look out for the next one. So I'm happy to vote for it, assuming everything tonight goes well, and I like what you have to hear. So thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Alex.
Good evening. I want to come up briefly and provide my support to the Measure G bond. Our family moved into Glendora. Partly, one of the reasons is for the schools. And I think what's very important, Glendora is our home. If we cannot invest in our school, in our home, who will? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will close public comment, and we appreciate all those comments. Thank you for showing up tonight, and we'll move on to comments from the member of the Board of Education. I will start with Trustee Lopez to my right.
Well, first of all, I'd like to, they're gone now, but welcome Amanda and Jen Engel. Well, welcome Jen Engel back. And Amanda to Glendora Unified as a principal here at Sellers Elementary. And I'm, you know, hearing her resume, I'm sure she'll do a phenomenal job, and I think we're lucky to get her with that many years of service and education. So that's exciting. And to have Jen back is exciting too, because knowing the culture of Glendora, knowing the staff and the students and how things are done is important a lot of times to our campuses. So welcome to Jen and her coming back to Glendora Unified. Super excited for the school year to start because being newly retired, I need school to start so I have something to do. No, I'm just kidding. So just super excited to come back and jump in with both feet because I think as the staff at Glendora knows, that's kind of what I do, and that's what I did for the past 5 years. You know, driving all those miles and being involved with the school down there that I was leading and running and having a great team, and it was a great experience for me. But also able to come back now and jump in with both feet and being able to get out to all the events and the back to school nights and seeing exactly what's going on across the district. So just from my perspective, I just wanted to convey that it's going to be good. Excited for our staff in the beginning of the school year, although we know it's really hot at the beginning of the school year, and I think we'll have some discussion around that and surround that a little bit. So just excited and getting ready to go.
Thank you. Dr. Cam.
I just want to encourage everybody as we get started, both teachers and students, that final clock countdown is here. So, you know, sometimes summer gets away being married to a teacher. I know it's like all of a sudden it's like, I'm starting tomorrow. What happened? I didn't take your time now, sleep in, set some time aside for some self-care. Students, try and get your schedule back on track, all that good stuff so you can start strong. And really kind of soak in the last few weeks or last couple weeks you have here. But I'm really excited for this new year. I'm really excited. I think back to being new to the board. I think back to the start of last year and all of the things that were accomplished by GUSD students over the last year. You know, it's been really incredible between National Merit finalists and projects that went to space and are, you know, just some of the really exciting things that have come up to this dais. And I'm pretty excited to see what next year will bring and what the students can accomplish. So I'm sitting back and thinking and reflecting and getting ready for another year, which is really a lot of fun. I'm also, I have to say, I'm really excited about the engagement that we've seen the community come together in a lot of ways about the bond and what's going on with all that, and people calling and cluing in and sending emails and what's happening here and what's happening there. And it's just been nice to see people who are queuing into our schools and saying what is the need and what does it look like. And so I just want to say to everybody, I really appreciate your comments and I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate our teachers and everybody who has a vested interest in what this all looks like. So thank you for coming out. And I am waiting with anticipation for the first day of school. I'm so stoked. I'm so stoked to have a quiet office while my kids are all gone at some point too. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So looking forward.
Trustee Garcia.
First and foremost, I want to thank everyone who came today to speak and express their support or lack thereof regarding the measure. And but more importantly, thank you for staying involved and engaged, regardless of where you stand. I do believe it's extremely important, and I know I can speak for myself that when you send those emails and you give me your perspective, it gives me just again another perspective for me to consider as we take this vote. So thank you for sharing that. It does matter. I do read your emails, and I hope I've responded to every single one of them. I read the DMs on Instagram, and again, I'm proud of our community for paying attention and for asking the difficult questions, for holding us accountable, for making sure that we're sharing the appropriate information that's going to keep you informed, so that you can make an informed decision should this make it to the ballot in November. So thank you again for just staying involved. I hope you're enjoying your summer. It is hot. I know you haven't heard that all day today, but it is extremely hot, so stay hydrated. I am excited for the school year to start again. It's why I do this work, so it's kind of sad to see the campuses, empty as I walk my dog. So I'm excited to see students and teachers back on campuses and for us to get back to doing more of the work. So thank you again, and just enjoy the rest of your summer. I know I'm enjoying my daughter being home from college, and I hope all those parents that I see a couple out here who have kids home for the summer, that you're enjoying every moment of having them home, because they'll be gone soon. So.
Thank you, Trustee Garcia. Just a couple of quick comments. Again, thank you for everybody that showed up, and just for the record, I want to just report out to all the teachers and people that the president, Doug Grantquist, reports to, that I had a nice meeting with him offline here, and we met for about an hour and discussed the representatives, the people that he represents. He did a fine job meeting with me, so I wanted all the teachers to know he was out doing his job and meeting with us. I don't know if he met with other board members, but he certainly had a cup of coffee with me, and we had a very nice chat about it. So I appreciated him and the people that he represented. Thank you. I'm excited about welcoming back. I remember when I went to school, which was a long time ago, but we started in September. I don't know if anybody else remembers that, but now it was then it was early September. Now it's late August, middle August, early August. So it's almost like school never ends. It seems like school's starting again very quickly. And some of my, I have a couple of grandkids at Sellers here, and I have other ones that are starting already. So it's like summer's gone almost. And so I do want to appreciate that. I also want to give a shout out to the Glendora High School girls flag football team, who showed up unannounced on my front porch selling tickets to a car wash. So if you're watching this tonight, Mrs. Clifford wants to buy more tickets, so you have to get a hold of her again. She told me to buy more. They kind of surprised me on the way out the door. And they also took a picture, so if you have that picture, send it to the superintendent so he can give it to me. I'd like a copy of the picture. We took a nice picture, and I would like to do that, and or send it to me directly, whatever is the appropriate thing to do. But I appreciated them out hustling for their flag football team. I think there were 5 or 6 of them that showed up. They were very professional. They were dressed in their uniforms. Did a great job. So I just wanted to give them a shout out, and also tell them I want to make an additional donation other than the tickets that I already bought from them. And I look forward to the presentations tonight too as we move forward. And I don't have anything further. So I will send it over to our superintendent for his report.
Thank you, Mr. Clifford. Members of the board, again, distinguished guests. We are in our final preparations for the beginning of a new school year, poised for our best year yet indeed. We are very thankful for our new members of our leadership team who you met earlier this evening, Mrs. Colon, the new Sellers principal, and Miss Engel, the new GHS assistant principal. Our leadership team is holding its annual kickoff meeting this Thursday, so the year will really begin Thursday and then moving forward. Registration is ongoing at all sites, online, and soon in person. Data confirmation begins this Thursday, July 30th as well, to confirm your registration for your school site. Elementary school offices do open on Monday, August 3rd. The first day of school is Thursday, August 13th. Approximately 40 students and their adult chaperones from Goddard and Sandburg Middle School have traveled across the Pacific to visit their respective sister schools, and we are so very grateful to the host students and their families in Japan for opening their homes and caring for our students as their own this past week. Wishing our group safe travels back home tomorrow here to Glendora. After a wonderful trip by all accounts and all videos and pictures I've seen, they've had a fantastic time. We'd like to give a dual language immersion update. The new kindergarten Spanish dual language immersion class at La Fetra is taking shape. We have hired an experienced DLI teacher from another district. We've secured her, and we continue to seek out native Spanish speakers in order to ensure the class is adequately balanced. Quick reminder about e-bike safety. It seems that every week I hear of another accident or incident related to an e-bike in or around Glendora, so they concern me and us as a whole. The city of Glendora recently approved revisions to their municipal codes regulating the use of e-bikes, e-scooters, and other modes of transportation in pedestrian-oriented areas, including the front sidewalks of our schools, an hour before and an hour after school. All the details will be coming out soon. There'll be social media posts from the city and the district, and there'll be some education programs for sure, and some future courses to take for those that wish to ride electric forms, legalized electric forms of transportation to and from school, and doing it safely, but please be careful. And a reminder to all, as we inch closer to the start of the new school year, day by day, our streets will become that much busier. More cars, more pedestrians, more bikes. Please pause, breathe, taking that extra moment that can make all the difference to you and those around you. With that and with appreciation, we thank you, and those are my comments for tonight.
Thank you very much, Dr. DeGrazia. That'll bring us down to our discussion action items for tonight. The first one is item 5.1. 5.1 is a new board policy which deals with mobile communication devices. And this is the first reading, and we will get a presentation from Dr. DeGrazia. And my only question to Tracy is, can we waive the second reading and adopt this tonight, or do we, if I get this, the assessment to do that? Or do we, okay. So we'll hear the presentation.
Yes, this is the board policy related to entitled Mobile Communication Devices, restricting the use of cell phones unless specifically allowed for reasons detailed in the policy, numerically in numbers 1 through 4 at the top of that policy. Each of our elementary schools has worked together to adopt the same policy. They've been enforcing said policy consistently for the past year, actually, so it will be formally placed in their handbook. Both of our middle schools are doing the same, exact same policy. Glendora High School has a unique policy, just unique to them and specific to them, to restrict the use and only allow it when at teacher discretion or direction, as does Whitcomb High School. Whitcomb High School has a unique policy specific to their site and their students. And if there's any further comments or input, we do have Miss Josie Wilson in the audience, and she can help with any other details you might need.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to bring it back to the board for a minute. Do you have any further questions about this correspondence? It's been posted on the agenda. Any questions from staff? All right, so we have the first reading tonight. I would like to make a proposal and a motion to waive the second reading and adopt this tonight if possible. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. So there's a motion and there's a second to adopt this policy, waive the second reading. Any further discussion?
I just have a quick question. Does staff feel like this is up and ready to go to waive a second reading, or is there any more work potentially that you want to look into?
I'll let Ms. Wilson answer that. But.
We're ready.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
The policies were crafted during the school year, so it's just a matter of approval.
All right, any further discussion? Any more comment from staff? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, it passes. Our next item is item 5.2. And item 5.2, I just have to slow down here for a minute. Give me 1 second. Item 5.2 is a approval of a provisional internship permit. I'll give that to Dr. DeGrazia to enlighten us about.
Thank you, Mr. Clifford, members of the board, again, distinguished guests. Every once in a while, the Commission on Teacher Credentialing allows us certain flexibilities. And annually, we utilize those flexibilities in a few areas, some of which are detailed here this evening in items 5.2, 5.3, and 5.4. Dr. Osborne will reference each.
Thank you, Dr. DeGrazia. So this provisional intern permit request is for Aaron Igo, who will be serving as our education specialist mild to moderate role, which will be split between Goddard and Sandburg Middle Schools for this year. We are recommending this permit to allow Aaron to continue serving in this role while she makes progress towards earning her ed specialist credential. So she is in the process of clearing her credential, but is not there yet, and so this permit allows her to do this job. There is no fiscal impact associated with the request, and once again, we request that the board approve the provisional internship permit, please.
Thank you for that presentation. I'll bring it back to the board. Are there any questions from the Board of Education staff? None being, may I have a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion.
There's a motion from KM, and it was seconded by Lopez. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, then we move down to 5.3, which is an approval of a short-term staff permit.
Correct. So this next item is a short-term staff permit request for Tristan Lang at Cullen Elementary School. Tristan has been with GSD for several years, most recently as a classified staff member, and she is a fully credentialed multi-subject teacher. She has graciously agreed to step into the role teaching special education in our extensive needs program at Cullen, which is also her home school. Because Tristan's credentials in general education, she isn't yet authorized to teach special education, even though she's actively working towards that credential. This short-term staff permit allows her to serve in this role for this school year while she completes her credential. Given the lack of viable candidates for this position and Tristan's strong track record and familiarity with the students and staff of Cullen, I am recommending that the board approve this short-term staff permit for Tristan, please.
Thank you for that recommendation. I'll bring it back to the board. Is there any further discussion? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion and there's a second. Any further discussion after that? All those in favor? Any opposition? Okay, 5.4 passes and, 5.3 passes. Now we move to 5.4, which is an approval of the variable term waiver request.
Okay, so the last one is a variable term waiver, and this is for Aaron Villanueva, who is our computer-assisted design and drafting teacher at Glendora High School. This one's a bit different from the previous two. So preliminary CTE credentials commonly do not include English learner authorizations built into it, because these teachers can earn their credential by having industry experience. And so this variable term waiver will allow him to teach students that are English learners should they be in his classroom. And so there's, again, no fiscal impact associated with this request, and we recommend that you approve this variable term waiver for Aaron Villanueva, please.
Thank you, Dr. Osborne. Any questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you, sir, very much. They
Thank
all
you.
passed. We'll move down to the item 5.5, which is consideration for approval of a bond resolution 26-27-01, calling of November 2026 bond election. Dr. DeGrazia to report.
Thank you, Mr. Clifford. Again, distinguished members of the board and our guests as well. Item 5.5 brings forward Resolution 2627-01 for your consideration this evening. The resolution is presented to the board in consideration of placing an $86 million bond measure on the November 3rd, 2026 ballot for district voters to consider. The purpose of the bond measure is to address extensive, ongoing school facility repairs and facility improvement needs, as detailed in the Appendix A of the resolution, and further detailed and described in the bond project list, specifically beginning on page A4. Appendix A, in its entirety, will be printed in the sample ballot provided to the district voters, as well as Appendix C, which presents the tax rate statement, disclosing current expectations regarding the property tax rate and other matters that will apply if bonds are approved and issued. Appendix B in and of itself includes the abbreviated statement limited to 75 words of the measure, which will be printed on the actual ballot label and read by voters at the time of casting their vote. In order for such a bond measure to appear on the November 2026 ballot, a resolution, which we present here this evening, calling for an election must be approved by the board and subsequently filed with the county officials by August 7th, 2026. It is also important to note that bond measures are one of the primary ways that school districts are able to address their extensive facility needs and repairs. Just a bit of history. The last approved bond measure in Glendora Unified was more than 20 years ago, in 2005. Our students, families, and our staff certainly deserve the level of facilities that match the level of education we provide on a daily basis. At this time, we have two guests with us, and first I'd like to introduce Mr. Charles Heath, our Strategic Communications Specialist from Team Civics, who's worked with us on this resolution, and Mr. Jason Chung, a member of our Financial Advising Team from Fieldman Rollap and Associates. And Mr. Heath is here to present some slides and a review of a recent survey.
Okay,
Mr.
thank you,
Heath.
Dr. Garazia. Appreciate it, and thank you, members of the board, for the time this evening. A lot of work over the last year has gone into the preparation of this proposal that's before you tonight, so I wanted to spend a few minutes just kind of recapping what we've done, what's led us to where we are today, and then, this is the superintendent mentioned, we recently conducted an updated survey of your voters, and I'll share the highlights of that research with you. So, as you all know at this point, you have sort of a unique opportunity available to you this year. Typically, when school districts propose a bond measure to voters, it makes funds available to the district to fund facility repairs, but that also comes with a increase in local property taxes. Because you have an old bond that's set to expire, there's an opportunity to do what other school districts have done in the area, which is to take that tax rate that voters are currently paying, taxpayers are currently paying, and extend that out into the future and use that revenue to issue new bonds to upgrade and repair your schools without increasing the amount that the taxpayers pay. That opportunity goes away after this year because that old bond will expire, and then any future bond you might propose would require a tax increase to your residents. So that's why we wanted to take a close look at this opportunity. School bond measures like this can only go to the ballot every 2 years in the even-numbered years. So if you don't do it this year, the next opportunity would be in 2028 or 2030. And at that point, again, the bond extension opportunity would be gone. So last November, we conducted a statistically reliable survey of your voters here in Glendora, and we found strong support for this concept of a bond extension. We also learned about the priorities that voters have for where funds might be invested to upgrade school infrastructure, classrooms, labs, career training facilities, etc. So we took that information and used it to start beginning to develop the bond proposal and also to do some communication with the public. We've sent informational mailings to the public. One of those included a tear-off survey and an online survey that over 300 of your residents responded to, providing to us their priorities. So we wanted to make sure everyone was included and had a voice and an opportunity to provide feedback on that. And the priorities expressed by your residents align very closely with the priorities that are in the bond resolution that you'll see tonight. Now, that initial public opinion research we conducted, November was a long time ago, and the economic environment has evolved since then, right? And especially since the war in Iran started in late February, early March, gas prices spiked, consumer confidence sort of took a hit. We wanted to make sure that before you're asked to make the final decision to put this measure on the November ballot, that we're still seeing strong support for your measures. That was really the purpose of the tracking survey that we conducted just within the last few weeks. So I will share the summary of the results with you now. Let's see. There we go. So like the initial research we did back in November, the purpose of this study was to, at the basic level, understand if a bond extension is feasible in the current environment, but also understand how we structure the measure to make sure that it's aligned with your community's priorities. What we'll see and what I'll summarize here is a lot of consistency with what we saw last year. So even though the environment has continued to evolve, the general priorities of Glendora voters have stayed stable and consistent since our initial research. The methodology, or how we went about conducting the study, it's essentially the same methodology that we used last year. So we have kind of an apples to apples comparison in terms of the numbers. We start by, we need to estimate who's likely to participate in this November's election. So we're accurately surveying those folks that would ultimately vote on the issue. We do that by looking at past participation in similar general elections here in Glendora. We have all of their voter history, so we use that to create a sample that reflects similar turnout to what we expect this November. And importantly, we make sure that that sample of voters is balanced by key criteria like age, gender, partisanship, the various factors that help determine voting behavior, so that our sample directly represents that same demographic mix of voters as we expect to show up in November. And that's what makes the survey predictive of what's likely to happen in the election. Then within that sample, we recruit people to participate in the survey. We reach out to them via email, text, and telephone. We don't live in a world anymore where you can just call landlines and expect people to pick up, so we have to reach out to them in multiple ways. And then they either complete the survey over the phone, both landline and telephone, or they go to a PIN-protected online survey where they can offer their responses. Here we offered that survey in both English and Spanish, so there was no language barrier, and we were able to complete 471 interviews, which actually overshot the 400 we were seeking to complete. That results in a survey that, with a margin of error of plus or minus 4.5% at the 95% confidence level, that means we can be 95% sure that the numbers we're looking at here statistically represent what we would have found if we had talked to all the likely voters in your community. So that's a little bit about how we went about the survey, and now on to the results. So we like to start the survey by just asking people about what issues are most important to them. It's a nice warm-up question and kind of gets them in the groove of taking the survey. You can see listed there on the left the various items we read. This is the same list in the survey that was conducted last November. And what you can see is at the top of the list there, sort of head and shoulders above the rest, improving the quality of education in public schools was extremely very important to almost 90% of your voters, 88%. That's consistent with what we found last year. You can see sort of the declining priorities from there. I'll point out a couple of items towards the bottom of the list. One, preventing local tax increases. Obviously, there's a tax element to a bond measure, although we're talking about an extension, not an increase, but we want to pay attention to that tax sensitivity. And then also repairing and upgrading aging school facilities. It's common that we find that when you kind of narrow the focus of an item to facilities as opposed to talking about education in general, it's a lower priority. And it's an important reminder that whenever we're talking about facilities, we need to be connecting that back to how those facilities impact education, right? Voters aren't supporting buildings for building's sake. They want to know how that impacts kids and their education. So from there, we got right into the actual bond proposal here. What you see on the slide is the simulated ballot question that would be proposed to voters if you were to put the bond on the ballot. This is very similar language to what's in the resolution that you'll be adopting tonight. It provides a brief summary of the types of projects that could be funded by the bond. It states that this is authorizing an $86 million bond issuance, levying that $33 per 100,000 of assessed value, which is extended at its current rate without increasing current tax rates. So we basically read or present to the voter that ballot measure and ask them if the election were held today, how would you vote? And what we found here is that 60% of people said that they would vote yes, about 32% said they would vote no, with the remainder undecided. So in California, a bond measure requires 55% support. We're at 60%, 5% above the passage threshold. That's a strong place to be. We conduct surveys like this for lots of school districts, and many are not seeing support at or above that 60% mark. It's a little bit lower than where we were last November. We were at about 65% at the same point in the survey then. Again, not surprising that we're seeing a little bit of softening of support. Those economic conditions we've seen sort of across the state are definitely impacting support. Nonetheless, we're staying above that passage threshold in a strong position. We also know that those bond ballot questions can be kind of confusing. There's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of details, there's a lot of legal requirements that we have to satisfy, and some of that becomes confusing to voters. So we really wanted to be careful and clarify what this bond extension is and how it would work. And so we said, voters approved a bond in the past to construct and repair school facilities. The current tax rate is $33 per 100,000 of assessed value. The measure we're discussing would not increase the property tax rate for your household. It would simply extend the $33 tax rate previously approved by voters for an additional period of time to make priority repairs and improvements to classrooms, school facilities, and instructional technology. And when we sort of provide that additional clarification, we see support rise to 62%. So if we can kind of help people wade through some of the potentially confusing legal language and really understand what this is, support rises. From there, we wanted to provide more information to the voter about what the measure would accomplish. So I know the text is kind of small here, but we read them a long list of different projects and improvements that could be funded by the bond. And here we're trying to understand, what are their priorities so that we can align the measure with what they want to see their dollars used for. The top performing items here, again, very consistent with what we saw in the survey last November. Basic repairs to school infrastructure, aging plumbing, HVAC systems, electrical systems, things of that nature. Also improvements to classrooms, labs, and career training facilities that connect to preparing students for college and good jobs, and also student safety. Those are kind of the themes that have consistently resonated in all of our research with your voters. Now, if you put a measure on the ballot, obviously there's going to be a campaign and an election season, and voters will hear arguments in favor of the measure. They may also hear arguments from opponents, reasons to vote no. So for this to be an accurate gauge of where we might end up in the November election, we have to simulate that by providing them arguments pro and con. So here are some of the positive arguments in favor of the measure. And it's interesting, those that were most convincing to your voters really were kind of descriptions of how your facility deficiencies impact kids. So it regularly gets to 90 plus degrees in the warmer months. We all are feeling that today, even though school's not in session. But this measure's needed to repair outdated air conditioning systems to provide suitable learning environments for students. So just kind of stating the types of projects that are going to be funded with the why, Also, just the age of your schools. They were built so long ago that underground pipes and infrastructure is failing and needs to be upgraded. Again, kind of the need is really what is most persuasive to voters. And we tested a long list of items. I will note that, even the least compelling of the positive arguments that we tested, 70% of your voters said it was very or somewhat convincing. So a lot of good arguments here in favor of the measure. So now at this point in the survey, we come back to that ballot question and we ask voters, okay, now that you know more, if you had to vote today, how would you vote? Support goes up to 66%, right? So now we're 11 percentage points north of that passage threshold, in a very comfortable position, which suggests that if we can tell our story, there's lots of support to be gained in the community. But of course, at this point in the survey, we've only provided one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is the negative arguments. So we presented a similar list of potential arguments against the measure to understand kind of what the key vulnerabilities are, what might motivate a voter to vote no. And the number one item here is frankly the number one argument against all bonds and taxes we've seen up and down the state over the last few months, which is this, residents and businesses are being hit hard by inflation, interest rates, spiking gas prices, the rising cost of living. It's just not the time to raise our taxes. And we didn't pull our punches here, right? We tested very aggressive negatives because we wanted to pressure test this proposal and make sure it can stand up to this opposition. The other sort of compelling concept was that lots of other agencies are coming at us for tax increases, right? And this isn't sustainable. But the real question is, after they've heard both sides of the coin, where do we end up? And that's here. So at the end of the survey, we're at 59%. We've taken a hit. The negatives definitely have an impact. Some of them kind of resonate with the current feelings about the economy. But we keep our head above water. We're still at 59%. Essentially that same 60% we started the poll with. So we went up, the negatives pull us back down, but that kind of base of support is very consistent right around the 60% mark. So that's what gives us confidence that this measure will be successful if it's placed on the ballot. The last item we tested in the polls, we just asked about a number of different groups and individuals to understand kind of who influences voters, who do they trust, who do they want to hear from in this process. And it's interesting that at the top of the list, teachers, students, principals, small business owners, individuals and groups very closely connected with your schools are very trusted messengers and people that are doing business here in the community. So that's just informative in terms of how we think about who the voices would be that are going to talk about this measure as we move forward. So I'll just wrap up with a few concluding remarks. One, circling back to that most basic question the survey was designed to answer, do we think this is viable? Yes, we do. You saw the impact of the positive information, so we can put ourselves in a very strong position if we can communicate those positive arguments and get that message out to voters. I think your measure is well aligned with the community's priorities. We see consistent support of 60% plus throughout the survey. And your projects are well aligned with the community's priorities. There are some challenges that we need to be aware of going into a potential election. Some of those opposition arguments do resonate. Sometimes the bond extension can be a little bit confusing to explain, so we need to make that as simple as possible for people. And the external conditions, right? Who knows what's going to happen with the economy and the war and other factors. So you just need to, those things are beyond our control, but we do what we can to try to mitigate the impact. So just to wrap up here, the next steps, if you adopt the resolution tonight, one is we would inform the community of that action, let them know that this will be on their November ballot, provide some details about the measure so that people have full information as they go to cast their ballot. We need to submit the adopted resolution to the LA County Registrar of Voters by August 7th. That's the deadline to qualify for the November ballot. And then we would transition to the independent advocacy campaign. So by law, no public resources can be used to advocate for the measure. So once you vote to put this on the ballot, other than just informing the public about that decision, any future advocacy would need to come from independent citizens coming together to advocate for the measure. So that's what I have to share, and happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Dr. DeGrazia, anything you want to add?
Nothing to add at this time. Any clarifying questions of Mr. Heath or Mr. Chung, who's in the audience as our financial advisor on the financial
Mr. Chung, why
aspects.
don't you come up to the dais just in case? I'll bring it back to the board. Any questions from the Board of Trustees after that presentation? I have no questions.
I don't really have a question. It's just, the comments is, it fits, right? Just as you said at the end, it fits. This is what we're looking for. This is what we know needs to be fixed in our schools. So, it's time. We gotta jump. We gotta move.
All right, any questions? No?
No, but I do want to thank you for this presentation. I think it's clear. I think it's important for the community to see this and understand that we are doing our due diligence and that these are the things that we're taking into consideration for tonight's vote. So thank you for being here.
All right, you guys got off easy. Thank you. Go ahead and take a seat. All right, I'll bring it back then to the Board of Trustees, and I'll start to my left this time. Trustee Garcia? Sure. I'll start to my right then.
I was looking at the presentation and just going through it, and it talks about improving the importance of the issues. Number one was improving the quality of education in local schools. And then down towards the bottom, it says repairing and upgraded aging school facilities. Well, I would imagine, or having run schools, those two go together. Even though they're separate, they go together. And it's about how people feel when they walk on campus too, right? If I'm a student or I'm a teacher and I've got to go to my classroom, I know it's going to be 85 degrees in there and it's 100 degrees outside. I can't teach in those conditions. So those two go hand in hand. And we have to make sure that gets fixed. And I specifically think about Goddard and Sandburg and when Dr. Osborne was back at Sandburg. And we've been hearing about this for a long, long time. And we haven't fixed it, right? So there are needs to our schools that have to happen so that our teachers and our kids can have a learning environment that they deserve, right? And and I was looking back at the influencers, and a lot of people talk about the "We Are Glendora." What does that mean? Is our standard high or is our standard low? It appears to me over the years the standard at Glendora we've started reducing it, right? We start thinking, okay, well, our expectations aren't going to be as high in an area of facilities and in our classrooms where the students are learning, while we continue to keep our standards high for results, right? We want them to learn at the highest levels. We want high AP exam passage. We want great Smarter Balance scores. We want all these things to happen, yet we're creating a learning environment that doesn't work for kids and it doesn't work for teachers. So we have to have those things in place. And yes, it's an extension of the bond. Does the bond go on for another 30 years or whatever? Sure, it does. But it benefits all of the people in our community, all of the kids that come through our schools, all of the families that are moving here, all of the families that are bringing their kids here for our schools. It continues on and it allows us to do some of the things that we need to do to fix our schools, right? And I was glad to see the influencer page too. And I'm glad that it comes up to teachers, right? Because every day they've got to go to class and they've got to deal with the heat and all the stuff that's going on. And then the parents of the students, principals, small business owners, the foundation, Glendora USD. I'm glad to see that the Glendora School Board is on the bottom. Here's why. Because our job is to support, right? Our job is to put the schools on our shoulders and to try to help and to support staff, to support kids, to support our community in what the needs are at our schools, right? That's our job. Our job is, we're the bottom of the totem pole, okay? We're not the top of we never should be making top-down decisions. That shouldn't exist, right? It's us collaborating with schools, collaborating with the district, collaborating with everybody, hearing what everybody is saying and saying, you know what? This is important to our teachers, it's important to our kids, it's important to our families, so we have to do this. And I know the fields at one of these, one of the priorities was a little lower. However, I will tell you, having been in a school where we didn't have a stadium, but we had an all-weather track and turf, it is so good for the kids, right? You need that on a campus. We may not be able to build a stadium at Glendora High School, but we're 5 minutes away from a really beautiful stadium over at Citrus College. So, but just having the ability to have a field where kids can participate and, you know, they're not getting hurt. There's those non-contact injuries that you get on a field that's not good for competition. We need to fix that area too. And again, that matters to our kids. That matters to our teachers. That matters to our coaches. All of our people who are working with our young people in our district, all of that matters. So, you know, for me, this is a no-brainer. We have to move forward with this. And I think what is being said by our community, they're asking for the same thing out of our schools. So,
Thank you.
I think that's all I have for now.
Trustee Kale.
A lot of thoughts. It's been, again, really nice to see people come out. I have to commend, I don't know, Dr. DeGrazia, if it was you, but your direction, but the person who wrote the bond really thought of a lot of great things. The response I've had back from people in the community has been, we really appreciate how things are outlined, itemized, set up, the transparency, the organization that'll be created to make sure that funds are being used appropriately. It seems like there's a lot of things. I had some people have some hesitation prior to seeing this, and once they saw it, oh my gosh, it's spelled out so cleanly and so nicely. So kudos to whoever did that, because it's a really great thing. And you know, one of the things that Trustee Lopez brought up was, you know, that this benefits all people in our community. And I think the story that we frequently miss as school board members is that we talk about our students, which is so great, but Glendora is also very unique in that a lot of our school facilities are our public parks. And so when we talk about Sandburg and Goddard that are open to the public in the evenings and afternoons, the high school, I always tell people there's literally not a single public park east of the Wash. And for a lot of those residents, the high school is where they go. And to have a track that is not CIF compliant, that, you know, is at times somewhat dangerous, I think it's an important thing to say. As much as it benefits our teachers and our students, also our residents of the community in a way that's really meaningful. On top of the fact that, you know, our property values are pretty much coincide with how well our schools are doing. And so that's an important thing to remember. And I think just for me, the last thing that I want to bring up is I appreciate that it's a responsible ask. I think initially I was wondering how are we going to get done some of the things that we need done with this amount. And because I think the state says if this was not an extension and it was a new bond, there's an ask up to what, $55 per 100,000? 60. So, I mean, the fact that as a district, you know, we're looking at this and saying, we're not asking for the moon. We understand the reality of what's going on. And I think that the responsible ask is also a way of us saying, you know, to our community, we hear you And we know that this isn't something that anybody wants to hear, but at the same time, there's the reality of that, and so that's what we're looking at. So I guess all that being said, in looking through all of this, I was really impressed. And so thank you, and I think it's an easy one for me as well.
Trustee Garcia.
Thank you. I did a lot of research because I don't take the decision or this vote lightly. And I wanted to take the time today to answer some of the questions that I've received from community members, both in support and against this vote tonight. And it'll provide a little perspective, I hope, some history. GUSD was established in 1961. Since 1961, we've only received $62 million in bond money. That's not enough. If you think about in 20 years, the amount of work the amount of money you've put back into your own home, I mean, percentage-wise, like, I know I'm a homeowner, and every year we're constantly budgeting because something needs to be done at all times. So it's just not enough. 62 years, $62 million. GUSD has been very responsible with this money. There was a bond oversight committee with that initial Measure G back in 2000. And all of this is transparent. This extension, if it goes through tonight, will also be having an oversight committee made out of stakeholders. So I encourage you, if you really care and you want to make sure that this money is being used wisely, that you get involved. Get involved. If you want this bond to pass, if it makes it on the ballot, get involved. Get in the campaign to make, because we can't campaign as board members and as a district, as you heard. We cannot be the ones campaigning for this, right? We are here to inform. We are here to make sure that you have the information that you need to make a responsible decision, an informed decision. That's our role. So let's see. I do want to say, back in 2016, we completed a facilities assessment. It's right here, public information. The estimated cost at that time was $196 million of repairs that this district needed. That's a lot of money. We're not even asking for that much money this time around, right? So that's, again, that was back in 2016. If you account for inflation, I'm sure it's a lot more than that at this point. We did another assessment, not as detailed as this, last summer. And the list of prioritized repairs and improvements came to $80 million. So this bond will take care of essentially the priorities, the most important things that our students and teachers need, just to make sure that they're comfortable and that we're staying afloat and we're keeping up. It's not even everything that we need, but it'll make it's a good faith effort from our community to say, hey, we expect, as other trustees mentioned, we expect high scores, we expect all these programs. Hey, we're willing to invest back into our schools and help you be able to provide those things to our students. It is a good faith effort from the community. I do want to commend our business team in maintenance and operation because they do a great job with the limited budget that they have. I have a 4-page that they gave us today with just the things that they're doing this summer. This is all maintenance and things that need to get repaired just this summer. There's other things that get done throughout the year. This is just the to-do list, the honey-do list for the summer, which is, again, that costs money. So we are doing what we need to do with what we have. That's a message I've received from the people who oppose. Do what you can with what you have. We are. I promise you that we are doing what we can with what we have. It is just not enough. That's the reality. It is not enough. In addition to working with what we have, they're great about writing for grants. They're great about writing to our legislators. I have 2 requests right here to Senator Sasha Perez, asking for a combined $6 million here, $5 million here. These are things that we need for basics, HVAC for Goddard, field repairs for Goddard. And then we have another 2 requests from Sandberg for Congressman Gil Cisneros. These are like everyday work that our staff is doing to get money outside of your tax dollars, right? That's money that, taxes that were sent to Sacramento and didn't come back to us. And we want it back, and we're constantly fighting for it. We want to make sure that it comes back to us because you pay taxes, right? But sadly, the way it currently works, the taxes that you pay get sent to Sacramento, and then they get, sprinkled throughout the state. Well, we don't get our fair share. That's the reality. We don't get back what we put in. And so if we are talking about local control, which I know this community is very big on, and I support that, this is the best way to get local control. You sign a bond, you pass a bond, you say $86 million, every single penny is going to stay in this district. Every single penny. And we get to control it as a community, how it gets spent. You can't say that for any other tax that you pay. It's the only one is the bond, a school bond. The state has tasked us with that. The state has said, we'll give you money for salaries, we'll give you money for, per person or ADA, but if you want your facilities to look good, if you want the AC to work, that's on you as a community. So what are we gonna tell our students? I need you to get APs and get to all the good universities, but no, we're not gonna turn on the AC for you. Is that what we're gonna do? I don't think so. So, many argue, again, the arguments that I have received, with our student population declining, do we need all of our facilities? That's a great question. And that is a question that this board has asked. And we did the work, right? We determined that we did have, a property that we could potentially sell or trade. We're in the process of that. We're in the process of negotiations. We're doing our due diligence. We're doing the best that we can with saying, okay, let's look at our properties. What can we do outside of just asking the community for an extension? We're attacking this from different levels with writing to our legislators, with writing for grants, getting rid of properties that potentially are obsolete, not obsolete, but maybe extra, right? That we can find another way to fit those programs on other campuses. So the work is being done, and I do commend this board for actually asking those hard questions and making, holding staff accountable to looking into those opportunities. So that is being done, and I don't think that we've done a good job about tooting our own horn about that and saying, you know what, yeah, we are doing that work. We did this, and that. So we should list that out. We should put it out there to the community so they understand what you guys do. I know you guys are humble, and I love that, but also you do a lot. You really do a lot to make sure that we're bringing money into our district and we're paying from here and there and, constantly moving money around in this way to make sure that we are responsible with the money that we have. So let's let them know. With that said, we have this resolution before us. It is my role as a board member to do due diligence, to do the research, to ask the hard questions, and give you facts so that then you can decide whether or not you wish to support this district. That's it. That's the work of this board, to ask the hard questions. So this is why I thank you for those emails, because it informs my line of questioning to staff. It makes me think of things like, I didn't think about that. So I want to make sure that I ask that question to Dr. DeGrazia, to our business department, because, I can't think about it. I can't think of it all. So I appreciate your input. I appreciate your participation. It is important. Now, at the end of the day, I want to give the community, the voters, the opportunity to decide whether or not they wish to continue to invest. I'm here to support our teachers and our students, and I do believe that this is one way, as Mr. Granquist said, show me the money, right? We want to support our teachers. This is a wonderful way to do it. So, if you didn't know where I stand, I hope this little soliloquy confirms where I stand. And I'm looking forward to this vote, and I'm looking forward to community getting involved. I did expect more people here today. With as much as we've been talking about it out there, I wanted this room full. I wanted people outside. I wanted more emails. I got 10 emails in support, 3 emails against. That's all I got. I want to see more. I want to see people paying attention and saying, yes, no, what can I do? The way the DLI parents showed up and said, what can we do to help? I would love to see that. That's an engaged community, in my opinion. But again, signs don't win elections, right? Votes do. So at the end of the day, your vote is going to speak louder than anything else. So again, ask the questions, and support where you're needed. And I look forward to answering any questions anyone may have. You know how to reach me, and I think that's all I have.
Thank you very much. I too just want to take a minute and sound the horn of the board. As you can hear, every one of these board members has done a lot of work, and in the last 4 years, we've done a ton of work to try to make sure the budget is in the right place to do this, and that anything there's excess we can eliminate. And as you've heard from everyone else, the board has taken some dramatic moves to do some things that I think have benefited the ratepayers and taxpayers, including refinancing the current bond that we had, where I actually got a tax decrease as a result of us refinancing the current bond that we had. I want to think it was like $30 a year or something, but it was still a decrease where the board looked at the current bond that we had, refinanced it. And again, if you look at the current rate, this bond, from a number standpoint, is about 4.9%. We're going to be able to get this money at about 1.9%. And in business, it's hard to get money at that rate with that difference. That's a good thing. I do want to talk about the fact that I believe that this is a Glendora ratepayer, taxpayer, and property owner issue. That's what this is. And I truly believe that Glendorans are going to, make the right call. They're going to look at this. They're going to look at their homes. They're going to look at the value of their homes. They're going to look at their education. My family's a long-term, over 40-year Glendora family. This guy's been in the Glendora education system probably 30 years. We all have been around here for a while, and I think that instead of asking for a $350 million new bond, knowing we need a couple $100 million to get things squared away, we're asking for $86 million. We're asking for our ratepayers to consider that. We're not doing it. We've done our diligence. We've done everything we could internally to bring that number down and to make sure that Glendorans, unlike other districts and other cities, don't get an increase. I think that's a fair statement when you're looking at what they currently pay as to what they could pay if we did nothing. So I think that the fact that we have this bond that's about to expire, this is a good remedy, and I'm hoping that the ratepayers look at that as a remedy. I also want to give, I had a lot of the same emails and more, but I actually got a handful, I'll say 7 or 8 significant phone calls from significant people that wanted me to understand their issue. And I spent a lot of time doing that, and I too was expecting more people here tonight to have that discussion. But if you add up everybody who emailed us, who called us, there were quite a few people, and it's right in the throes of summer, which is hard also. But again, I want to note that our teachers deserve our support, our students deserve our support, and our ratepayers, taxpayers deserve our support. And they're going to get that by them being able to make the call as to what they want to do with this ask of the Glendora Unified School District. I too want to give a shout out to the teachers representative here tonight who took the time on his own time to come out and meet with us in the middle of the summer, talk about fishing and camping and the things that had to get done. So I too appreciate that. Just a couple of things I want to say. I believe that this district has done a really good job of documenting what the needs are, different than other districts. I think we've done the work to see what we think ratepayers will say or what they won't say. I think we've developed some good arguments there. Our infrastructure, our student safety. I was a cop and a resource officer and for schools, and I want to tell you that we take school safety really, really serious here. And that means a lot of things are going to improve on our campuses that we currently don't have. And I've talked to the vice president of the school board several times about the different safety systems in other places that he's familiar with. And we have to improve on that. We have to improve on campus security, fencing, classroom door locks, emergency communications. And you know what? One of the things that I found interesting as I've been on this board, and I'm gonna round these numbers out. If we have 6,000 students in our district, Glendora Unified School District gets paid the lowest ADA for each student in the area. And, Dr. DeGrazia or somebody can confirm that, our CBO, but we get about, I'll round it up, it's under $11,000 per student. And the average in the region is anywhere from $13,000 to $18,000 per student. Am I in that ballpark correctly? That's a lot of money per student difference. If you take that $6,000, there's 6,000 students, and you say, hey, Glendora Unified School District gets paid on the ADA from the state, from those taxpayer dollars, we get paid $11,000. A district right next door might be paid $18,000. That's a $7,000 per year difference in per student difference. That's a lot of money, and that's because of the median income and the affluence that this community has, at least as the state measures it. And I know we all feel the pinch, but that's how it works. So there's a lot of things in play here, and I think that ADA, as Trustee Garcia mentioned, is an important factor about all of us paying our fair share for education and being serious about it. Campus safety, our technology infrastructure, our skilled trade and career pathways, I think, are really important. And you have to remember that we can't use any bond money for operating expenses, teacher salaries, or administrator salaries. The teachers aren't asking or supporting this because they want more money for themselves. They're asking for our ratepayers and for us to give the ratepayers a chance to vote on whether or not we want more money to improve our sites. And like we said, our high school, track and field, our air conditioners, and you know what, since I've been on this board, I have witnessed every board member talking to Sacramento, talking to our assembly people, our local city council members, our senators and our congress people, and actually getting money into the district that wasn't coming before. So I'm confident that the board has done everything they can do to work in positioning this district to be able to at least have a consideration by a voter. But I just want to close by saying this district, the Glendora Unified School District, has award-winning schools at every level. We have Goddard Middle School, Sandburg Middle School, Glendora High School, all recognized as 2026 California Distinguished Schools. That's a big deal. I believe the voters have an opportunity through this bond measure to keep investing in the school district and keep us at the top of its class. And as long as I've been here, Glendora has always been at the top of its class. We have a lot of work to do to keep these facilities up. I think all of these are still the original sites, and we have some work to do there. So in closing, I just want to say this is not a vote to approve anything other than teeing this up for the people that we represent and the people that I respect in this community, the people that are paying the bills, the ratepayers, taxpayers, and businesses and residents, to make the call on what they want to do. So I'm prepared to move forward if there's a motion. There's a motion, and is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? Is there any further presentation? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And is there any opposition? Okay, the item passes, and we'll move on to the next item. Thank you very much. The next item is always curious. It's the consent item, 7.1 through 10.3. They're all listed. All of the dollars associated with it have been posted. They're all going to handle and be voted on at once unless somebody pulls an item. Is there a motion for approval of the consent calendar?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? All right, thank you. That moves us down to item 11.1, which is adjournment. It is 7:26 p.m. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you for your attendance.